There are so many amazing steak cooking methods, but today I have something really special for you, and here's why. I've spent years chasing the world's best steaks all around Europe, South America and USA. Even dining over 10 times at the #1 rated steakhouse on the planet, Don Julio in Buenos Aires, Argentina. My life's mission has always been the same: to master the steak game at the highest humanly possible level. So every time I eat out, I analyze the steak in front of me and ask, is this better than mine? Are they doing something I don't know? I've had some truly amazing steaks, but honestly, in the last 5 years, since my steak mastery really took off, none of them truly impressed me, and Don Julio didn't come even close. I was searching for a life-changing steak moment, the kind of moments I had in the beginning of my journey. And 3 months ago, I finally got it. I was in LA eating at Cheese Paca by Michelin star chef Nancy Silverton, and I can confidently say that was the best restaurant steak I ever had, easily top 5 of all time. So today I'm going to show you how to recreate this steak at home and maybe with a few twists make it even better. So let's find out. Let's start with the right steak. You need a grain finished steak, preferably from USA or Australia, because you need that sweetness. At Cheese Paca they used a bone-in strip loin, but we have a tomahawk. It's really similar. The main point is to have a really thick steak, in our case 3-finger steak. This is also grain finished. Unfortunately, it's not as sweet as the steaks from the USA, and the sweetness is really important, you will see why. But also this is dry aged, which is also really important. Another crucial aspect is to season the steak right. So let me show you how to do it for this specific method. So in this method, we're going to use multiple textures of black pepper. Here, what we have different is that we toasted those black peppercorns. I love the smell and flavor of toasted black peppers, and I always recommend you to toast your whole black peppercorns. So now we have a pestle and mortar. We're gonna grind it in a way to create multiple textures. And one thing that I like to do is to put my hand so it doesn't fall out, and now we grind. So as you can see, we have multiple textures, and if you're familiar with the brown butter method, the process is the same. So please look, we have multiple textures of black pepper. Some are more coarse, some are more fine, and this is exactly what we want. And now, if you follow the instructions from the Cheese Paca book, we need to use olive oil so all our seasoning sticks. But here's how they do it. They first use a little bit of the olive oil, just a tiny bit on both sides, including the edges. And now they use fine sea salt. And you can really put a lot of it on both sides. This steak is pretty thick, so it can hold a lot of seasoning. And now you put a little bit more of the olive oil, so our black pepper can really stick. And now we want to really season this a lot on the whole surface. And you want to push this seasoning inside. The goal is to have the whole surface coated with multiple textures of black pepper. And now, once you have everything coated, you repeat the process on the other side. And now the steak is ready for the grill. As always, clean grill, and since we use salt in the beginning, we need to place it as soon as possible because salt dries out moisture, which you never want. This is the hardest part of the whole steak cooking method, and it is having the right fire setup. So now the second most important aspect of this steak cooking method is to have the right temperature, and we are here using oak wood. As you can see, the fire here is burning, but it's not touching the grill grates, and we are using the radiant heat from the fire to actually create that amazing crust. So here the goal is to create that amazing crust only with that heat from the actual fire. So this method works only if you have the right heat management, and that's why you need to use a thick steak, because it's gonna take quite some time to really achieve that amazing crust without overcooking the inside. So as you can see, the fire is burning just underneath our steak. And this is how to know that you have the right temperature. Actually, we want a bit more fire to get that crispy crust, so I'm gonna add some oak wood. The temperature was actually a bit too low because it's so open, and now the goal is to have the fire almost touching the grill grates. In this case, this is the right temperature. After about 3 to 4 minutes, it's time for the first flip. If you watch my other videos, you can see that this method is completely different, because in my other videos, when I use this grill, we use conduction heat, actually the heat from the grill grates, to achieve the crust. But here, we use the fire to get that crust. It's almost the same effect as in the broiler, but here the heat is coming from underneath the steak. Okay, I wasn't completely satisfied with the first side, the first flip. I'm gonna add just a bit more pepper, because that pepper is gonna help us in achieving that crust. But now, once we fixed the heat, you can see now the crust on the other side. Look at this amazing whole crusted surface. Wow! As you can see, that black pepper really helped us in achieving an even crust, and this is exactly what you want. So what is our goal? Our goal is to achieve an amazing crust on both sides, and then kind of slowly finish the steak cooking also on the flames. So currently I'm not quite satisfied with the first crust, and now we're gonna just work a bit more on the crust, and then we're gonna lower the flames a little bit and then finish the steak cooking while constantly flipping, so we have an even doneness throughout the whole steak. Now, after about 1.5 minutes, it's time to flip the first side for the second time. As you can see, really amazing crust, and this is exactly what you want. And now let's quickly add a bit more crust on the other side. One of the most important aspects is mastering heat management. In this case, I could immediately see that the first fire setup was too weak and we needed more heat, which you could clearly see in the crust on the first versus the second side. Okay, now let's check the other side, and wow. Okay, the goal is actually to have a little bit of slightly burned black pepper. Why? Because this steak is grain finished, and here what you really want is to have that contrast between that almost bitter-like peppery crust with that sweet meat, and this is what really makes this steak so amazing. I look at this method almost as black and blue, just without really burning the surface of our steak, which in my opinion is much better. Now the only thing left is to finish our steak cooking, and we're gonna do that by placing the steak where the temperature is a bit lower, so we can flip constantly and slowly cook the inside. And now here's how I'm gonna lower the temperature. I'm gonna actually place my steak more on one side here, and now we can use our tongs and just lower the distance between the fire and the grill grates. Something like this. And now we flip every 1 to 2 minutes. Don't forget to sear the sides, especially these parts of the fat. We need to get them slightly crispy. So now, as you can see, we don't have any more fire burning. What you can do, you can leave it like this, but I'm gonna add one more wood so we can have the fire constantly burning, and we are just lowering the distance between the grill grates, and that way we are managing the heat. Actually, I removed the outer layer of the wood because this produces the type of smoke that I really don't enjoy. Now, once our heat is managed, it's time to place the steak back and finish it cooking. As you can see, slightly less flames. And again guys, pro tip, you should always remove your steak from any heat as long as you don't have the right heat. So as you can see earlier, we had a lot of smoke, a lot of bad flames. It's better to remove it, manage the heat, and then place it back. One great thing about the setup in Chispaca is that they have a pretty big grill, and they're always adding more and more wood, so they always have a really high searing zone, and then they have a zone where the temperature is not so low. And that's how they can always manage the heat properly. I can see one more flip, and we are done. And just a few more seconds, then our steak is ready. And what I like to do is to now add just a bit more heat so we can have that final amazing crispness to the crust. Now our steak is ready, and the only thing left is to let it rest properly. Okay, the steak has been resting for 7 minutes, and now it's time to slice it. Again, crunch test. Exactly what we want. Okay, actually, so now, as you can see, there's some steam coming, and when I touch the steak, it's slightly too hot. So now we're gonna let it rest for 3 more minutes. Now 3 minutes have passed, sharp knife. Wow, look at that amazing doneness. This is exactly what you want. And we can see with this method a slightly thicker gray band, but still for this thickness, perfect. Now let's try it. Wow, really amazing. You feel that smokiness, that peppery crust, and also combined with that amazing tenderness and juiciness, it's really amazing. But I must say the steak that we used today is not as good as the steak they had in Chispaca. The meat and the fat was more sweet, and then you had that amazing contrast, which works better with this method. So again, the right element is having the right grain finished steak, and believe me, try this method. It's gonna be one of the best steaks you'll ever try. If you want, I can also record a video of showing you how to do this method in a Kamado or SNS or any other grill. Please let me know in the comments. Until then, stay calm and see you next week.